things that I think stand good and that have always been the best qualities of great leaders are that they are people-centered. So they are compassionate in the way that they deal with people. They have an engaging way of working. They're good listeners. They involve others in their decisions. One of the big pitfalls of leadership is that leaders can sometimes, the further up the ladder they get, think that they have to work more and more in isolation and independently of others. And I would suggest that the more senior you are, the more vital it becomes that you retain that contact with others. You don't lead alone. There might be the occasional big decision where people look to you to make it because it's a judgment call. But in the main, the decisions you're making should be taking as many of the people with you as you can because they feel they've been part of the direction.
Yeah, I agree with that, Jonathan. And it's very interesting when you talk about, kind of the further up leaders go, the more likely it is that they then do start to slip into leading in isolation rather than necessarily leading in a way that might have been their previous style, which was, more collaborative and bringing people along with them. What's your view on what causes that when leaders do slide into that temptation to lead in isolation?
I think at the heart of it, there is a misconception about what it is to be the boss. It isn't about being the heroic leader. We've seen how those things normally don't last very long. You do get heroic leaders. We could probably think of some in politics at the moment, but usually they crash and burn before too long. And the leaders who really succeed are the ones who keep in contact with the people that they're leading. I think there's a couple of things that you can do to insulate yourself against that risk, because sometimes these things happen unconsciously and over time. I think one is a structural thing that you can do, and that is make sure that in your organization, you are getting directly to people, not just who work directly with you as a leader, but the people who could be a couple of steps away from you in terms of the hierarchy. So, and that might be 100 or more people in the organization. But I think if you are the top person, or even the top person in your function of the organization, you should be reaching a substantial number of people frequently, and whether that's via online interaction or if you're gathering people together physically where that's possible, then if you're reaching, as I say, typically maybe 100 people at least a few times a year, and it being a two-way process, then you're going to have much more chance of the things that you are trying to lead on being adopted and being successful. The other thing I would suggest as well is that you may be the only person in your job, in your organization, but you have peers in other organizations. And so one thing that I've certainly done for a number of years is be part of a peer group of people in other organizations doing jobs similar to mine, where we interact with each other. There isn't normally a big commercial confidence issue, because often we're working in different kinds of organizational industries, sectors. But you find that often the problems are very common, and they are usually to do with change, and they're usually to do with people.